Welcome. I'm Alice Alicia Jones, and I welcome you to another one of my Living Consciously videos. I hope to post one every single week on Friday, bearing unforeseen circumstances that I can't avoid that don't seem to. It's funny because as it has happened up until now, most of the time the waters part, and I'm able uh, to post this without any problem. Today's video, probably I'm no different than everybody else on the planet who has been watching the anniversary of the insurrection of January 6th. And one of the things that crossed my mind as I was watching that, and as I watched Frontline, which is probably the most superb news gathering system out there. PBS in general tries to present both sides. They try to give one side as well as the other and do an admirable job of it. It's not either slanted one way or another. But one of the things that the thoughts that went through my head as I watched the historical background of every single protest that had occurred from the moment of the Civil War, which was obviously the biggest protest of all, because all of those who argue that it was about states' rights effectively eliminate a part of that sentence. It was about states' rights to hold other human beings in slavery. That's exactly why the Civil War was fought, not about states' rights as a mm, ideology. One of the reasons that I called today's talk the privilege of living in America is because I am an immigrant. I was born in Poland. And I know that because it was a communist country at the time that I was born, I know the restrictions that were ladled on my family who was still there. By virtue of my birth, my saving grace and the ability to come here was the fact that my father was born here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and taken as an 8-year-old and raised in Poland. He and 4 brothers were born here at the time. 2 managed to come back to the United States prior to the war breaking out in 1939, and my mother and father got trapped. And my father had his uh, passport, but not his visa. And we, I don't think, had anything. I'm not sure we had any paperwork at all. But my mother, when we finally were allowed to come across, my father came 2 years earlier than we did. When we absolutely were given the right to leave Poland and come here, as my mother descended the plane, she got down on her hands and knees and literally kissed the ground. And her entire life, she would look up at a blue sky with gorgeous clouds, sometimes a plane going overhead. And she knew with complete certainty that that plane would not drop bombs on her the way she had experienced when she was in 1939. I think she was born in 21. So she was what, 18 years old? She's a teenager. And she was like every other member of Tomaszów Lubelski, the little village that we lived at. They ran out hailing the planes, thinking that this was part of a defense of their country. Instead, the bombs started dropping. And for 2 weeks, they had to go into the forest to hide because the occupation, they took over, the Germans took over so quickly. And for 2 weeks, they had not a clue. And she said that one of the statements that I never forgot that she made was that when they came back out of the forest, their humble little hut, which is what she called it, because it actually had holes in the walls, holes in the roof. It wasn't much protection against shelter, but she said their humble little hut looked like a palace to them. And bless her heart, she always worked. From the moment she came here, her first job was to be a cleaning lady in some of the local banks, and then as she mastered the English language a little bit better, she then and she mastered. She was a seamstress. She knew how to sew, and so then she became a seamstress for one of the very lovely small. Um, uh, um, Dress shops in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Beverly's doesn't exist there anymore. Neither does Jacobson's, neither does Herpersheimer's or Steckety's or Wurzburg, the stores, the anchor stores that I grew up with. And gorgeous stores, absolutely exquisite. But they have done something very lovely with Grand Rapids, Michigan. They have made it into, or at least part of it, into a pedestrian walkway so that it's just very user friendly for people. But her attitude of gratitude transferred to me. I never took for granted the fact that, except for this quirk of fate, that my father was an American citizen, that I could not have been born or stuck and raised in a communist country. So I always had an incredible love for this country, an incredible sense of patriotism, an incredible sense of honor and privilege for living here, for being given the opportunity. Being Polish Catholic, of course, we didn't go to public schools, we went to Catholic schools. And the Catholic schools were taught mainly by nuns. I don't think I had a parochial teacher until I went to high school. But the teachers were so dedicated. I had very few obnoxious moments at school. Some people will say, I guess because the way they acted, that they got hit in the head, sometimes wrapped across their knuckles with a ruler. It hurt. Anything like that hurt. I don't remember any of the nuns doing that. For the most part, even though each nun had about 50 students, and even though I was always delegated to the last because I was so tall, and so I was always in the last row. I I always just remember, what I remember most is my love of learning, my love of always and being able to create something new, being able to express what I wanted to express. And I was so grateful for that. I can just remember that attitude of gratitude just being part of who I was from the moment I entered school. And in college, because I took English as my major, which literally qualifies you for nothing. but is a stepping stone to other careers. Like it's a stepping stone to journalism, it's a stepping stone to writing. The college professors that I had, which were associate, which the first 2 years I went to Grand Rapids Junior College and then went on to the University of Michigan. Every professor that I had was so dedicated to their trade, just expressing great ideas. There was a time where I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to be a college teacher. I want to educate people with the same great ideas. My life took a different turn. Obviously, it was supposed to. And in a sense, I can now see the perfection of why I didn't end up in college as a college instructor or as a teacher. But I do feel that if we as a nation collectively can find the privilege of living here. There is a statement out there. It's so true. Democracy is messy. Democracy is difficult. And fortunately, the Washington Post also has this wonderful statement at the bottom of just under the banner that says the Washington Post. Democracy dies in darkness. So it is up to each of us to find the truth of what is being told to us today. The Let's see if I can express this the way I want to express it. The one thought that went through my mind so repeatedly was the fact that the same things that were being fought for in the Civil War and after Reconstruction and the Jim Crow era are still being fought for today. The same things. Black Lives Matter is just the latest version, the latest slogan. So, where does the hatred come from? It stems from fear. And I have spoken repeatedly about the scale of consciousness from the book written by the David Hawkins, MD, PhD. And I looked up fear today just to see where it was on the scale of consciousness. 100. You have to get to 200 before you're in a positive mode. Everything that comes, if it doesn't come from love, which is like 500, it comes from fear. Because according to A Course in Miracles, there's two emotions on this planet. One is love, one is fear. And we collectively, as a people, have the right to choose, have the right to align ourselves without fear of being imprisoned for our thoughts, at least up until now. So please, please, please do not take the institution of democracy lightly. I was recently subjected to 30 minutes of haranguement by a member of a political party that I don't subscribe to. Not a pleasant experience. Absolutely not. But last week's talk was about the fact that one lie given to one person, meaning 2 lies the first day, at the end of 10 days leads to 1,000 lies. At the end of 20 days leads to a million lies. At the end of 35 days leads to 34 billion lies. 34 billion. I know when I read that statistic to my sister Mary, who's a scientist, she didn't believe me. Said, do the math. Do the math. Do it yourself. And I'm going to post this on my website because that's one lie given to one person in one day. So 2 lies the first day can lead to 34 billion lies on the 35th day. What if we start with 5,000? One lie given to 5,000 people, one lie given to 20,000 people, one lie continued to be repeated over and over and over and over and over again. Where are we? We are in the trillions, we are in the quadrillions. And the only problem with that is that the repetition of a lie will get your energy field into a place of belief. You believe that lie. It's automatic. It just happens. So I encourage you, do not take what you hear for granted. Google the statements that you doubt. Like the party talking to me said, show me she did not believe that the former president said soldiers are losers. She said, show me a video. Well, I Googled it. There were 5. And then below the 5, there were 2 where he denied saying that. So effectively, just know that the truth is out there. And all those conspiracy theories, all those big lies that have been uh, promoted and re-promoted and re-promoted and re-promoted can be challenged. But you have to do the work. You have to find that yourself. I did want to share one last thing with you before I leave. Um, I never know where I'm going with these talks. I just trust my guides and my angels that they're going to give me the information that they want me to bring forward. But yesterday, I finally received a Christmas present from a dear friend of mine. And those of you who are into sacred geometry will recognize that this symbol is Metatron's cube. You will actually see Metatron's cube in that interposed on the flower of life. And within that symbol is every shape in the world has come from that symbol. So don't know if I'm going to talk more about that next time, but I strongly encourage you to please not accept, blatantly just accept what is told to you. Search it out. Because the one thing that I couldn't get over as I kept watching and watching and watching is how history is just repeating itself. The same hassles are being fought for. The same information is being challenged. There's so much sameness. It was just astonishing to me. So anyway, but this is the 7th day of January. This is my first broadcast for the new year. I do wish you a very joyous and happy new year, a safe and prosperous one. And just know that your safety as a human being increases at this moment in time to your willingness to be vaccinated because you are putting yourself at risk with the coronavirus raging out there, alternating into new variants. You are putting yourself at risk. So you do have a way of protecting yourself, which is through the vaccines. and the masks. The only reason I'm not wearing a mask, I'm in my own home. I'm not out in public. I'm not doing anything. But has it been tiring? Yes. This is going on almost 2 years. Everywhere we go in public, we wear a mask. Everywhere. To the grocery store, to restaurants, to a movie, to wherever it is that we go. So I'm very proud of Virginians. They, they, I'm not saying they're happy about it, but we saw our cases spike like crazy. And so everybody that had slacked off wearing a mask started wearing a mask again. Because occasionally I would see people unmasked in the grocery store, but not anymore. So please stay healthy, stay happy, and God be with you. I bless you. I thank you for watching, and I thank all the people in the future that are going to come to see this. Thank you. Bye bye now.